What is up, Edison duelists? This is Dionysus, aka Young Puds, coming at you guys with some more shameless, hype beast, Gigavise content. Folks, we are less than 2 weeks away from YCS Providence, which of course will have an Ultimate Time Wizard event. And folks, I am going. I am going to be there. Gone are my days of crying and complaining about the very small turnout I get at my Edison locals. No, I am going to make the journey. I'm going to leave the woods, come down from the mountains, enter civilization, and arrive in Providence at the convention center ready for action. And so because of that, I'm on my training arc. I'm locking in. I'm reviewing all my replays with more and more fervor. And what I am finding, there are some matches where there really isn't anything I could have done to win, but the majority of my losses are winnable matches, I believe. And what is the number one reason? What is the number one reason that is causing me to be defeated? It is Gorz, the Emissary of Darkness. This thing right here above Gigaplant on the right of my screen. Gorz is a big problem. I will recklessly swing into it. I will convince myself that, oh, well, there's no way you have it. I sound like, like Phil Hellmuth, oh, well, there's no way you have aces. And then wouldn't you know it, they have aces. Phil Hellmuth blows up, cries, and that's not what I want to do. I don't want to blow up. I don't want to cry. I want to find victory. So today in my matches, I've been locking in, I've been focusing, I've been saying, okay, let me play around Gorz. Let me respect Gorz, the Emissary of Darkness. And I have two matches here that I think are pretty good matches that do involve a little bit of Gorz, the Emissary of Darkness counterplay. So we're going to go second against Forgs here. Our opponent's going to go open up with Substitute, so that's a pretty good hand just right there. He'll set the Dandy, set the Reckless Greed, pass it back to us. We are in a very common situation that Gigavise duelists know all too well. It is the almost combo. We are one card away, and that one card could be various things. It could be a Foolish Burial, it could be a Dandelion, it could be a Lone Fire Blossom, it could be a Copy Plant, it could be a Nettles. Any number of cards could get us out of this situation, but for now, we don't really have anything going on. So what do? We set the Wing Blast, we set the Dust Shoot, and then we pass. Here our opponent is going to go. He's going to pick up a Fishborg Blaster for turn, so he really has everything he could want, except, of course, an answer to our Dust Shoot. So we're going to take a look at the hand, and now we do get the benefit of knowing that our opponent does have a Gorz, the Emissary of Darkness, so we are going to be able to very conveniently play around it. We don't have to make any reads, we just have to know, okay, Gorz is a threat. So he sets one. We can reasonably believe that that is either the Treeborn or the Fishborg Blaster, doesn't really matter which. There's two frog sets. I have the read that this face down is Dupe Frog, so that's what I'm considering it to be. Of course it is Dandelion, but that's neither here nor there. I pick up a DDR for turn. That is a perfectly fine draw. It means that Gold Sark is now also immediate combo. So we're still in a perfectly acceptable position. Our opponent's going to pick up a Des Frog for turn, which he will Tribute Summon to start putting a little bit of pressure on us. My eyes do light up a bit when I see that, because of course, that is a 1900 attack monster, so now we are threatening a Colossal Fighter Armory Arm OTK if we can just get a little bit more gas. Something like Foolish Burial or Dandelion would give us all the tools we need to make that happen. However, we are just going to simply draw Lone Fire, and we don't have quite the right setup to find a Colossal Fighter Armory Arm line, so I do pause and think for a little bit. But ultimately, I decide I'm going to want to spin the back row, just in case it is a discard trap. We do get hit with the Hard Punish, and it's Reckless Greed, but that's totally fine. We're going to go ahead and Fertilizer here, bring back Lone Fire, and now we can go Lone Fire for Lone Fire, bring out Gigaplant. We're going to go ahead and activate Supervise, bringing back Lone Fire Blossom. And here, no reason to go wide. We're not pushing for game. We're just trying to stabilize and then start snowballing advantage until we can put together a quote-unquote play-through Gorz type of line. So we're going to attack over the Des Frog, get that out of the way, attack into the set, which again, folks, I was assuming to be Dupe Frog. It is, however, Dandelion, so our opponent's going to get 2 tokens, and we are just going to pass back. We have a pretty good, crackback I don't think I'm going to get OTK'd through Titanial. If he is able to break our board, which is of course possible, we can hit back pretty strong with Mark of the Rose, DDR, and Super Solar. Just Super Solar's the discard fodder for DDR. So of course our opponent is not drawing, and we do know that he has Avarice, which is not live, Gorz, which we are keeping dead by playing around. So, you know, we know his options are a little bit limited. And did we see the Fishborg? We did, so we also know he has Fishborg. So we see him set 2. We can reasonably assume that he's probably not setting Avarice willy-nilly like this. It's in my mind that it could be a bluff, but I'm thinking, okay, so these two are going to be at least semi-legitimate sets. And fortunately for us, we're going to pick up a Trunade, which is going to do a fantastic job of handling those. He's going to chain MST, targeting our Supervise, and I am going to go ahead and decide to Titanial, tributing herself there. And then he does hit us with a Reckless Greed. So Trunade not getting a ton of value, but at the very least, we're putting the Supervise back in our hand. So we can do something a little cute, which is going to result in a full board clear for us. We'll go normal summon Gigaplant, bring back Lone Fire for our second Gigaplant, give that one the Supervise, and then bring Titanial out from the graveyard, and then we'll just simply run over each of our opponent's monsters. Of course, the Treeborn Frog is going to come back, but we're still keeping him on only 3 monsters in grave, so keeping the grave nice and limited. He's also not drawing for turn, and now we just have even more negation targets with Titanial. So I'm feeling pretty good about this. Our opponent is once again not drawing for turn. Treeborn is going to come back, and he is going to set that second Dandelion. This time I'm a little concerned, you know, I'm thinking, well, it could be Flip-Flop Frog. That's on my mind, you know. So I'm going to consider my options carefully here. I'm going to kind of think about lines. Do I have a way into some sort of playthrough Gorz line, you know, where you just go really wide with like Red Dragon Archfiend, Titanial, Gigaplant, and everything. And I have a lot of gas and, you know, 2 Gigaplant effects. So what I decided to do first is we're going to do Black Rose and use its effect to check what this monster is. I still have my normal summon available. So, you know, worst case in this scenario, it's going to be Flip-Flop Frog. Best case, I'm going to, you know, be able to maneuver myself into a line where we're playing through Gorz and we're winning on the spot. And regardless if it's not anything relevant and my opponent is still kind of just on this set pass type of gameplay, this is a really strong kind of perennial board presence to have up with this Black Rose Dragon. So we are going to go ahead and banish the Gigaplant, and we do see that it is a Dandelion, so that's totally fine. What I'm going to go ahead and do now is just attack with the Titanial over the Dandelion, so that's getting in for big damage. And then I'm going to attack over the token and the other token and then go end phase. I think maybe looking back on this, it probably would have been nice to maybe just put a Nettles on the field, just as an extra piece of negation fuel for Titanial. And, you know, I mean, it puts the Treeborn in the grave, but of course it's going to come back anyways. So not the biggest deal. I don't think that's a huge mistake. I'm feeling good also because our opponent is not drawing, and it seems like he really hasn't been getting anything going. So here we are once again going to go ahead and Black Rose. Of course, this time it is the Fishborg Blaster. I figured that's probably what it is. If he had something good, like a Flip-Flop Frog, we would have seen it already from the Dandelion. So now we don't even have to commit anything else to the field. We can just go right ahead, swing for 2400, attack over the Treeborn Frog, and now we can just attack in for game. So in this first game here, we were able to defeat the looming threat of Gorz, 1, with the benefit of hand knowledge with Trap Dust Shoot, and then 2, just, you know, kind of slowing things down. Borgs is a scary deck, but Titanial really does stabilize against them, and you know, of course, I think it also helps that he couldn't find his way back to Substitute or get this Avarice live. But still, this is definitely a situation where if we had just tried going as wide as possible and swinging right in, Gorz would have been really devastating. So patient play there, you know, using Black Rose to put things in attack position so we can deal damage without, you know, triggering Gorz. Very nice way to play over and through the Gorz. So let's go for game number 2. And once again, we see that our opponent has drawn that Gorz, the Emissary of Darkness. We have a fantastic hand here. DDR, Dandelion, Furt, Goldsark. That is full combo. A very nice collection to draw. We also have a Book of Moon should our opponent do anything nasty and nefarious, such as, oh, I don't know, Vanity's Fiend? Yuck. What a foul, disgusting card Vanity's Fiend is. Anyways, our opponent is in a great situation himself, 1-for-1 dandy with a Fishborg Blaster in play as well, so he's going to go very, very wide and really extend super far here. He can make a Stardust Dragon to play around Lightning Vortex. Then he can use Salvage to put 2 frogs back in his hand, and he can use both of those as fuel for Substitute to get a nice little dupe lock going. Now, it's unfortunate. If we had just a little bit more gas here, folks, we would be able to do something really nasty where we just Book of Moon 1 dupe frog and put the other one into attack position. But unless we draw something really good here, we're not going to have quite enough gas, and Copy Plant isn't going to do it, but we're still going to find ourselves in a super favorable position. So we'll go ahead and DDR, discarding the Lone Fire, or discarding the Dandelion rather, to bring back the Lone Fire we banished off of Gold Sark. We have Lone Fire and 2 tokens, which is always a fantastic position to find yourself in. We'll go ahead and Lone Fire once for the second Lone Fire, and then Lone Fire again. We've already been through 1 Dandelion. We have 1 Copy Plant in hand that we're going to use this turn, so there's only the second Dandy as well as the Nettles in deck to make the SSNs live, so I'd rather just cycle through both Lone Fires, play around Crow a little bit safer. So here we'll normal summon Copy Plant and go ahead and make a Power Tool Dragon with the token. I decided to put it in defense because we're not going to be pushing in for game this turn, and we do want to be playing around Gorz the Emissary of Darkness. That's the theme of the day after all. So here we do get a Supervise off of Power Tool. Believe it or not, 100% does round up to 100%. We'll put the Supervise on the Gigaplant. I thought about kind of greeding out and trying to go a little wider here and getting the second Power Tool Dragon, but we wouldn't be able to present 8,000 points of damage without hitting another 1 out of 3 on the second Power Tool Dragon. So that didn't quite seem good enough to me. Actually, wait a minute. Let's think about this. So if we had gone for another Nettles or another Copy Plant here, and then we make Power Tool, then we have Power Tool, Gigaplant, token, and then this next Power Tool, yeah, we'd have to hit the 1 out of 3 for a third Supervise, because even if we get Mark or something, we don't have a way to put the other Death Frog into attack position, and just making Black Rose Dragon, that's not going to be enough either. Even if we had left a Lone Fire on field instead of the token, that would be 29, it would have been 23, 24, 24, and 500, so we would have been 500 points short, so not quite enough for game. Close, but no cigar. What if, I'm just thinking out loud here, no, I just don't think we had it. If I'm missing something and we did have a line for game through Gorz with putting the Dupe Frog in attack, putting the other one face down, definitely let me know, but I'm just not seeing it. So what I did end up going for here, folks, sorry for the digression, we're just going to go for a Mistworm and use Supervise. This is also nice to test for DD Crow. We're still getting the Stardust and breaking the Dupe Lock and killing the Substitute, even if there is a DD Crow. So now we can be pretty confident that DD Crow is not in play. So here I am going to go ahead and attack over the Substitute with the Mistworm. Very good to get sub off the field. And while I have the opportunity to attack with Gigaplant, if you think about this situation, sure, it's unlikely that your opponent has Gorz. However, if they do have Gorz, Gorz is going to just devastate your field. You're not going to have enough to crack back with just a Miracle Fertilizer and a Book of Moon. He's got a lot of gas to bring back Fishborg Blaster because we put those 2 Dupe Frogs back in his hand. So even without finding more Substitute access, 4 cards, 3, and Gorz would be really, really bad for us. So I decide to just be happy with the 2400, set the Book of Moon, keeping us nice and safe, and then passing turn. Our opponent is going to pick up a Unifrog, which is a little unfortunate for us. Not going to get the most value out of the Book of Moon now, so He'll swing in with Unifrog. We will go ahead and Book of Moon that sucker. He is going to set a Mirror Force and pass it off to us. So here we're first going to go ahead and fire the Power Tool Dragon. Let's see what equip we get. This kind of determines what we're going for. We do miss and we hit Mark of the Road. So here I don't want to play into Torrential, so I don't go ahead and normal summon the Gigaplant or anything just yet. And we do attack with Mistworm, unfortunately right into a Mirror Force. So here we're just going to pass. I feel like there's nothing super great that I can get with Fertilizer. And maybe Power Tool lives and I can get a Supervise next turn or even a DDR. So I decide to not commit any further to the board and instead just let my opponent flip summon that Unifrog. He'll normal summon Dupe Frog and then he'll Discord Blaster for Blaster. And now he can go ahead and he puts 6 stars in the graveyard to make Catastor. We point that out. And, he just puts the Treeborn back on the field. No big deal. Very hard to count. We played this game very, very early in the morning. So, no hard feelings there. So Catastor is going to go ahead and swing over Power Tool Dragon. We're going to pick up a Solemn Judgment. I would really like to have a Supervise or something like that. That would have gone great with the Fertilizer. But instead, or even a DDR or a Hidden Armory. So looking at this hand, I do decide that Catastor is a problem. And I know that one of my opponent's cards is Dupe Frog. And, I have a pretty safe bet that the other one is probably Gorz. Because think about it, if it was like a frog, a swap frog or something like that, he probably would have done something with it. If it was, a flip-flop frog, maybe he would have just been content not making Ally of Justice Catastor. Maybe he just would have set the flip-flop frog, right? If it was a back row, he would have set it. If it was a salvage, he would have played it. If it was an avarice, he would have played it. If it was a DD Crow, he already would have played it. So by process of elimination, we can actually be pretty confident that this is a Gorz, the Emissary of Darkness. So for that reason, I'm thinking, okay, you have Dupe Frog Gorz. What I need to do now is I need to put the pressure on you. I need to, kind of keep things going, keep up tempo. Tempo is definitely, a valuable thing. When you think about card advantage, you think about tempo. So here I'm going to make a tempo play, just trying to keep the cards in my hand more active and more useful. So while Mark of the Rosing for Catastor, just to get it off the field and Synchro Summon, and Fertilizer just for Nettles, this is not the highest impact play in the world. But what I am going to do here is, we'll get the Treeborn Frog off the field. Of course, it'll come back, but what can I say? I then think about attacking, but then I remember that we are reading that it's Gorz. So I decide to not attack, and we just go ahead and main phase 2 Synchro Summon Power Tool. My thinking here is that if he's willing to make Catastor, that was actually a pretty costly play to put Catastor on the field, especially with limited defense. So that means that he's in a situation where Power Tool Dragon is a threat. It's constantly threatening to get more and more advantage and snowball for us. And he's in a weaker position where allowing us to keep snowballing advantage is going to be a really bad thing for him. So instead, I'm thinking, okay, well, we'll go ahead and use Power Tool Dragon right now, and we'll get something good no matter what. If we get a DDR, that's the best case. And hitting a Supervise, well, that's pretty good too, because now Miracle Fertilizer is an insane draw. We've still got 2 more of those in deck. DDR or Hidden Armory are also still really good because they can get us the Gigaplant onto the field that way. So Supervise is pretty fine to see, and even if we draw the second Gigaplant, if Power Tool's surviving, which is a pretty good chance it is, especially with Solemn Judgment up defending it, we could even just hard summon the Gigaplant. So our opponent's going to pick up a Torrential for turn. That's a little bit scary for us. He is going to set the Dupe Frog. We can reasonably assume that that is a Dupe Frog, and then especially because he's setting Torrential. So I'm thinking, okay, this is probably a real trap of some sort. It's game 2, and I think Forgs tends to put in real traps against us games 2, whereas they have the, the Reckless Greed going game 1. And he's going to pass, so we're going to go ahead and draw, and we do pick up a Miracle Fertilizer. We'll use Power Tool Dragon again. If we can hit a DDR here, we are in such a absolutely amazing position. We do hit Mark of the Rose, but that's fine because we are so strong with Miracle Fertilizer here. So what do? We are going to go ahead and drop Fertilizer. We'll get Lone Fire back from the graveyard and use that Lone Fire to get our Gigaplant back from deck. Now we'll equip that Gigaplant with Supervise, of course, bring the Lone Fire back. and put a Titanial on the board. At this time, of course, he is going to want to fire the Torrential, and we will say no to that with the Solemn Judgment. We do see when we shouldn't have that it's a dupe frog, but we did have a pretty good read that that's what it was. Yeah, so we're going to attack over the Treeborn Frog with the Gigaplant, attack over the Titanial, or rather attack over the dupe frog with the Titanial. He's going to put Death Frog back in his hand, and that's going to be it. No reason to put Power Tool and attack and play into Gorz. We are in a very, very good position, and Gorz would make that not so. So he's going to rip a Brain Control off the top of the deck. So Titanial is really going to be shutting that down very, very nicely. He's just going to summon Treeborn Frog and pass. Here we will now put Power Tool into attack position. We can't use its effect anymore. All we have left in deck is 1 DDR and 1 Supervise. So we're going to go ahead and use Gigaplant. We'll bring Nettles back from the graveyard. We'll attack over the Treeborn with Nettles. And then here we're going to attack with Power Tool Dragon. If he wants to drop Gorz here, we could clear the token with Gigaplant and clear the Gorz, the Emissary of Darkness, with Titanial. But of course, he does decide to not drop Gorz, so now we can just set the Torrential and pass it back to him. He does find a Flip-Flop Frog at this time, so he'll bring back Treeborn Frog and then discard the Death Frog to put Fishboard Blaster on the field and then set the Flip-Flop Frog as well. So I think putting the Blaster on the field is nice here because that just kind of makes it look like he's just walling up, maybe disguising that it's a Flip-Flop Frog. But the tricky thing here, honestly, folks, is that, you know, if there's a Treeborn Frog, now I can make RDA to clear all 3. And if he doesn't put the Treeborn Frog and the Blaster on the field, well, then Flip-Flop Frog is only bouncing 1, which is kind of low value if you ask me. So we're going to pick up a Hidden Armory. That's a great draw, but we don't even need it. We can just go ahead and bring out the Nettles. Now we will use the Hidden Armory just to extend a little further, pick up a Supervise. I'll put that on the Gigaplant and bring back the Nettles. This way, if something goes wrong, we can make a Stardust to blow up our own RDA. But here we are just going to swing with the RDA and clear all the defense position monsters, and then we can swing with the Nettles, bringing him so low that even if he drops the Gorz now, we can run over the Gorz with Power Tool Titanial and then swing for game with Gigaplant. So a lot of patience was the key for dealing with Gorz, the Emissary of Darkness, and we are able to get through and win. So let's go into this second match here. Sorry, folks, it started without you. So this is a match that we just played against user Tom, THOM, exclamation point, who is on the mirror match, and had a lot of fun in this match, and let me take you guys through it. So we did open this kind of weird hand with 2 SSNs, Mark of the Rose, and Lone Fire. And looking at this, I decide that the best course of action here is going to be set the Dandelion. Hopefully it gets run over, and then the SSNs are live. If it doesn't, maybe we can summon Lone Fire Blossom on top of it, and you know, go super wide that way, like tributing the Dandy to get the SSNs live. So I decide that Gold Sark for Giant Trunade is going to be the best course of action. Let's say our opponent, you know, is just setting and not attacking the Dandelion, then I can wait a turn and Trunade and do this huge combo very, very safely. And in fact, our opponent is going to do just that. He'll fire an Upstart and unfortunately draw into Giga Titanial and 4 traps. So he's just going to set all 4 of those traps and pass it back to us. We're going to pick up a Foolish Burial, which does go very nicely with our SSNs, especially because that Lone Fire is getting put back. So now, seeing 3 other back row, I am content to just wait and let our opponent, you know, hopefully do nothing, which of course he is going to be doing nothing with only a SSN. So we're going to draw, and we do pick up a Lone Fire Blossom. I did check the log, folks, and you can see that I did shuffle my deck. Perfectly reasonable, that definitely happens. So standby phase, we'll get our Giant Trunade. And of course, we're going to do that and then try and just happily walk in for game. But our opponent's going to dash our hopes a little bit with Solemn Judgment. So here I'm going to just try and play through these 2 back row. I have a lot of gas in my hand. So first, we're going to go ahead and Foolish Burial. I'm thinking, okay, you know, let's see how much we can get done. And, you know, if we run into Torrential here, then we can always just start the combo again with the SSN off the second wave of tokens that we're getting. So here we're going to go ahead and Lone Fire for Gigaplant. That is allowed to go through after a little bit of thinking from our opponent. So here what I decide to do now is I'm going to normal summon Gigaplant and priority effect to bring out Lone Fire Blossom, and then I'll use Lone Fire to tribute the token in this case and get Copy Plant onto the field. What I'm hoping to do now is go ahead and flip summon the Dandelion and then make a Mistworm with Copy, Dandy, and Lone Fire, and just bounce the 2 back row and go from there. When our opponent is setting 4 like that, I am not particularly concerned with Gorz, the Emissary of Darkness. So we'll flip summon the Dandelion. I'll go ahead and use Copy Plant, targeting the Lone Fire Blossom. And to this, our opponent is going to hit us with the Raigeki Break. I do see a Titanial at this time, so I'm thinking, oh, well, he's setting 4, so that's probably not Gigavise, you know, but Titanial, set 4, Amadex could be setting 4. Now here, I do just decide to go ahead and swing in. Last thing that I could be worried about is Mirror Force, but since we're getting the tokens and we have SSN with the Lone Fire, we can at least continue to put up a little bit of a board presence. And that's going to let us put a Titanial on the field. Fortunately, we do have to summon the Lone Fire from hand, but you know, we can't just be leaving a Lone Fire around against a fellow plant deck. At this time, I'm now checking the graveyard, and I realize that, you know, these 4 traps could be Amma, but those are also Gigaplant's trap lineup. So maybe he just drew, you know, all the traps in his deck, and that is actually exactly what happened. So he's going to draw a Torrential now and set that. We'll pick up a Nettles for turn. I could, you know, Lone Fire into the second Gigaplant here, but obviously that would just completely lose to Torrential. So instead, I decide to just be happy with what I have and swing in for 28. Our opponent now does go ahead and draw Lone Fire Blossom, which is always good with Torrential. You could do something cute like Lone Fire priority effect, chain Torrential. But what he's actually going to do is go Lone Fire effect and then bring out Dandelion. And then now he can Torrential Tribute on the Dandelion summon, so that way he gets 2 tokens and that SSN can be live. Here he's going to go ahead and go for Lone Fire Blossom, and definitely not the best situation for him here. In the chat he was talking about Thought Ruler, but he's already used his normal summon, so he did not have a way to get to Thought Ruler without a Supervise in hand. So he does just decide to make a 6 here, make a Bryo, punch in for 2300, and then he's going to use Bryo's effect to get it off the field, because of course he knows from his Dust Shoot that we do have a Mark Rose in hands. So unfortunately for him, even though we draw a bricked up Gigaplant, we do have a Nettles, so we can just swing in for 1200. So that's it for game 1. And let's go into game 2 here. Always fun to have a Gigavise mirror match where there's a little bit of back and forth drawing until, you know, someone's True Nade resolves. I think we were in command. We were in a good position for most of that game, but it definitely wasn't a given. That Mirror Force especially really set us back a lot. So here, once again, we've got a pretty good hand. SSN goes nicely with the Dandelion. Solemn Judgment is always a welcome sight. We see our opponent start things off with Hidden Armory for Mark of the Rose. So it's game 2 against the Mirror. So that tells me if he's getting Mark of the Rose, he doesn't have Gold Sark, right? Because then we'd be getting DDR. He does have Supervise already. The Supervise is better than Mark of the Rose. And also, he does have Autonomous Action Unit already. So all these things are things I'm kind of considering, thinking about. And he is just going to set a Torrential now and pass. So we're going to pick up a second Supervise. I'm thinking, wow, all we have to do is get this Dandelion to trigger, and then we are going to be in a fantastic spot. He is not going to be helping us with that at all right away. He's just going to be playing a little slowly, a little conservatively. Nothing wrong with that. So, you know, I think he's hoping that we're going to kind of blink first and drop something for this AAU to get him started. We're going to pick up a Mark of the Rose of our own, which of course feels pretty good to me. And then he's going to upstart, and now he does find the Gold Sark. So this is why, folks, I think even in the mirror when Mark of the Rose is really valuable, if you're looking for another equip to pick up and you already have these two, you're going to want DDR. Think about if he had DDR here. How powerful would that be? You know, he'd be right off to the races. He could Mark of the Rose. He'd still have a normal summon, discarding a Dandelion. You know, he'd do Cold Fusion. He could do whatever he wanted. You know, like we'd be forced to fire Solemn Judgment on the DDR, and then he'd still be getting the Lone Fire back. And you know, he's preserving his Torrential. He'd be in a really good spot here. But I think Mark of the Rose makes sense too. You know, I'm not trying to knock him too much. I understand why he did it. Here, we're going to use a hidden armory that we've drawn of our own to pick up autonomous action unit. That's going to be the most useful thing. It is kind of telegraphing that we have supervise, but looking at our situation, you know, this dandelion is not a given to trigger. The opponent isn't going to just needlessly give us tokens when it's pretty clear that this is a set dandelion, you know. So instead, we're just going to be forced to kind of take our time. Here, he's going to draw another gold sark for turn, and he is going to go ahead and use that. He's getting the Lone Fire next turn, but he's going to Gold Sark now and pick up a Trunade just to have a very safe landing during our back row. Makes sense to me. We're going to pick up a Titanial for turn, which is absolutely useless, so we are just going to go ahead and set that. He'll pick up a Divine Wrath, and he also gets the Lone Fire. So I think he does decide that because I have this set, which could just completely mess things up, he's going to wait one more turn to try it in combo. I think that's totally fair. You know, he's in a decent spot with the Torrential, with the Divine Wrath as well. It's pretty clear that I'm in a kind of slow start, so I understand why he's waiting. You know, even if we have like a half combo through these traps, Lightning Vortex is going to clean it up really well, and then, you know, Trunade, Lightning Vortex, Lone Fire, Supervise, that's a really good spot to be in. He could have also considered maybe using the AAU early or right now to put Titanial onto the field as like insulation if he's afraid of Geki Break or PWWB, but you know, all those lines are still going to lose to Torrential. So I understand why he's waiting, and he's going to go ahead and discard the Dandelion for hand size. I think that makes sense too. It's getting the tokens onto the field, like at least it's doing something. But ultimately, folks, I think Gigaplant is really what you want to do, because it's really, really dangerous to give me tokens on the field. Because what can we do with tokens? Well, folks, we can steal them. Also, I'll note here, his default token is this fluff token here, and then he brings out, you know, he changes them so they're two different ones. Folks, Dandelion summons 2 red fluff tokens. The white fluff tokens, this is what white Dandelion, which is a different card, summons. So if you're using Dandelion, you're playing Edison format, the 2 red Dandy tokens is correct. You can see they're angry, just like their dad. White Dandelion is a different card. I'll show you that. Oh, it's Dandy White Lion, excuse me, is this guy here. And this guy is the one that summons the white Dandy. Just a little point of information. If you want to argue that, feel free to do so in the comments, but I am right and you were wrong. So anyways, folks, we are in a great spot now. We're backed up very strongly by our Solemn Judgment, and we do have a Plant in the Grave, so Mark of the Rose is live. We can take a fluff token and go ahead and SSN, and that's going to get us Lone Fire onto the field. So very, very nice. We're going to get our Lone Fire out. We will, of course, priority use its effect, and then go ahead and drop another Lone Fire. Here, folks, I do believe that Divine Wrath would be able to stop our Lone Fire. I do believe that is the case. If he had Divine Wrath, that first Lone Fire, and then we go ahead and use our Solemn Judgment on that, then he just has Torrential, and you know, he can use Torrential to shut down the Miracle Fertilizer that we would inevitably go for. But I think you know, he decides to wait a little bit longer, so now we're going to be able to go ahead and get out Gigaplant, and I think it totally makes sense here. You know, just letting us get to Gigaplant, and then you Torrential now, right? And now my graveyard is still set up with the Lone Fire Blossoms. I've been through 2 Lone Fires, so I don't have anyone that I could normal summon. And if we have the second thing, we have the Divine. So again, you know, with the benefit of hindsight, I don't think this is the correct play, but I see the line of thinking. I'm not gonna knock it too much. It's you know, it's hard to know everything that I have. It's tough to sequence everything correct. So here he is going to drop the Torrential. We will get our 2 fluff tokens, and now we are going to be able to keep playing because we have Miracle Fertilizer. We are going to be able to Lone Fire and tribute the 1 Lone Fire for the second Gigaplant. Actually, folks, so if he had Divine Wrath, that first Lone Fire, we would have let that go through anyways, because then we could just Miracle Fertilizer and then we Solemn Judgment the torrential. So yeah, I think either way, the sequencing is totally fine. Maybe that actually is optimal the way he did things. So he's going to try and Divine Wrath the Lone Fire, and of course, we are not going to have any of that. We are going to go ahead and use the Solemn Judgment. Now our opponent is wide open, and this is the situation we have. There's no more unknown traps. There's just 5 unknown cards in his hands. So while we, of course, at home can see that there's no Gorz, let's pretend you're me in this duel. How would you go about playing around Gorz, the Emissary of Darkness, with this hand? This is our pop quiz. You have a Lone Fire that's already used its effect. It's tied to Miracle Fertilizer. You have a fresh Gigaplant. You have a Fluff Token. You have a Banished Titanial. In your hand is 2 Supervises, a Hidden Armory, and an AAU. And in your opponent's graveyard, that's relevant, is a Gigaplant Dandelion. You know he has Lone Fire in hand. You can assume he has Supervise. You can assume he has AAU. You know he's getting a True Nade next turn, so you're definitely on the clock. How would you win the game playing through Gorz? Let me show you how I did it. I went ahead and equipped the Gigaplant with Supervise. We'll use its effect, bringing back Lone Fire Blossom. Lone Fire Blossom can use its effect to bring out Copy Plant. At this time, we're going to go ahead and Synchro Summon for Power Tool Dragon. We'll use its effect after Supervise resolves, bringing back Gigaplant. Power Tool is going to reveal 2 DDRs and a Supervise. It doesn't matter which one we get, we'll get the other one off of Hidden Armory. We do happen to get the Supervise, but again, Hidden Armory means that that roll did not matter. We're going to equip Supervise to Gigaplant, bringing back Copy Plant. Here we are going to Synchro Summon with Copy Plant, the token, and Gigaplant to go for Red Dragon Archfiend. And now, of course, Supervise brings back the Gigaplant. We will equip Gigaplant with Supervise. Again, we would have used Hidden Armory to get back a Supervise. If we did not hit this roll off of Power Tool Dragon, we will use Gigaplant to bring back the Copy Plant, and then now we are going to go ahead and make an Armory Arm. We will equip the Armory Arm to the Power Tool Dragon. Now we can use Hidden Armory to get the DDR that we missed off the Power Tool roll. We will use the DDR, discarding Autonomous Action Unit, to bring out Titanial. And this is a end board that you can make. You can always remember this end board. This will play through Gorz at 8,000 life points. So we'll now proceed to battle phase. Go ahead and swing. I don't know why I put DDR into the graveyard there, but I did know it was game. So our opponent didn't have Gorz, so nothing to worry about there. But let me explain how this works. So you attack first with Titanial, right? Now your opponent is at 5,200 life points. If they drop the Gorz at this time, and they drop both of them in defense position, then Red Dragon Archfiend simply clears both, and then you can attack with Gigaplant and Power Tool for game, right? Easy enough. If he drops one Gorz, if he drops the Gorz token in attack and the Gorz monster in defense, Red Dragon Archfiend runs over the token. Power Tool will run over the defense positioned Gorz, burning for 2,700, and then Gigaplant will get in for 2,400, which is going to be game because of the 200 over the Gorz token, right? So that's 28, 27, 224. That'll be game. If he does both of them in attack position, that's fine too. Power Tool runs over the Gorz, takes 3,300. Red Dragon Archfiend runs over the token, takes another 200. Gigaplant swings for game. If he holds the Gorz, that's fine too. In that case, you swing in for 2,400 with the Gigaplant, and then he drops the Gorz again at this time. So now he only has 2,800 life points. If he drops both of them in defense position, Red Dragon Archfiend clears both. Power Tool Dragon attacks for game. If he drops the token in attack position and the Gorz in defense position, that's fine too. Red Dragon Archfiend over the token deals 100 points of damage, and then Power Tool over the Gorz, or actually 200, deals another 27 for game. If he does the Gorz in attack position and the token in defense position, well, then just Power Tool is enough for game. And of course, if he doesn't drop Gorz, or he doesn't have it, then Red Dragon Archfiend by itself is enough for game. So that is how this end board works as a way to play through Gorz. Definitely keep it in your mind. Definitely remember it. It is very, very useful. It will come up. You do need a lot of gas, like we had in that past turn, to make these things happen, but it is good to know how to get there. Also, if you're in a situation where like a Gigavise has wheeled back around and you're starting your turn with a Gigavise, it's a lot easier to make this with just a little bit of gas. So 3 ways to handle Gorz. 1, seeing the Gorz, the Emissary of the Darkness, off of Trap Dust Shoot and then playing around it accordingly. 2, making the read and then playing nice and slowly and just going for incremental advantage. Remember, while Gigavise has these huge blowout combos, they're not necessary to win. You can definitely just rely on your kind of steamroll advantages, get yourself into a stable position where you're ahead, and then you'll just continue to get further ahead. Your opponent is not going to be able to keep up, and you'll win. And then number 3 way to handle Gorz, the Emissary of Darkness, is to make a board of Titanial, Power Tool, or another Gigaplant equipped with Armory Arm, a second Gigaplant, and then Red Dragon Archfiend. So, like I said, 3 ways to play around Gorz. Hopefully this video you find to be helpful. Maybe it even means that you consider dropping Gorz from your list because, yeah, honestly, I would love that. This is the takeaway from this video, folks. If you are coming to YCS Providence, just don't play Gorz, the Emissary of Darkness. Yeah. All right, folks, that's all I've got for you today. This has been Dionysus, aka Young Puds, bringing you guys shameless, hype beast, Gigavise content like I do every day. Subscribe so you get the number to go up, which makes me very happy. Drop a comment letting me know about any misplays that I made or cheats that I did. What else can I say? Smash that friggin' like button, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Take care, everyone.